Well, Phillip, man, pleasure to have you on the podcast. For those who don't know Phillip, he's the owner of AlphaJet, has a couple other businesses, but AlphaJet is his main business. How would you define AlphaJet?
So it's kind of like an aircraft cleaning company, but we do a little bit more. We focus on like some restoration work, some, just some random stuff here and there. But just so people understand kind of what it is, it's mostly just cleaning private aircraft.
Cool.
Yeah.
And everything from like, do you do old aircrafts and new
Yeah.
aircrafts or?
So we do pretty much a lot of everything, but our main focus for the last 2 years has been like old vintage aircraft, just because it's
Sweet.
collectibles. The people that own those are super wealthy. So it's also the highest paying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess in my mind, I would have thought like, I don't know, like private jets
Yeah.
would be the highest paying. But when you're taking cold or care of an old school vintage aircraft, you're saying that's typically like the best
Yeah.
from a profitability perspective.
So some of those airplanes could only be worth like $3 million, but the owners spend upwards of $30 million to make them look the way they want to do.
Wow.
So yeah, they're willing to spend the money to have
That-
exactly what they want. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Well, cool. Well, Phillip, man, like tell me about let's go
Mhm.
back to kind of before it all started. What like what was life like growing up, and ultimately how did that affect you and to who you are today?
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up in a big family that obviously didn't come from money. My parents moved here pretty much right before my oldest brother was born. So I grew up, speaking Russian, kind of not fitting in anywhere, just hard to make friends. I also grew up very fat. You've seen pictures. Yeah. And that kind of made me get bullied a lot. So I didn't have a lot of time to, spend with friends, and I just had a whole lot of time to myself. So, being picked on, it made me want to change myself, my body, my attitude towards life. And so I started to, try and lose weight at a young age, and better myself, become the best person that I can be. And I feel like that kind of helped me become the person I am today, just focusing on doing the difficult things that eventually you'll see results in. So that's kind of how I define my success, is obviously with God, and then doing the hard things every day, and then eventually you'll see something different. If you keep pushing towards a goal, you'll eventually accomplish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are born with that drive, or do you feel like it has to get developed?
So I personally was not really born with that drive, because again, I obviously got to that weight that I
Yeah.
used to be at. So, I used to be pretty lazy. I used to play video games all the time. So it was something that was developed through just a hard childhood and like being bullied a lot, and eventually realizing that if I don't change, then nothing's going to change. So it's kind of developed in me through just a difficult childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think was that turning point for you? Like you're overweight as a young kid. I feel like something had to like click. Like was there a moment in time? Were you just fed up with
Yeah.
being bullied? Like what was that switch for you?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, just being bullied a lot kind of
Yeah.
definitely, just got tired of that and decided that, I might not be the best looking guy, but at least I could be in shape. And so that's kind of where that started, is, trying to change something that I could definitely have control over and change. So that's kind of where that mindset clicked, is when I was just pretty much tired of being bullied a lot. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's awesome, man. And I'm sorry you had to go through that.
yeah, no,
But
it's,
but I mean, ultimately, I'm sure you look back on it and you're probably like to some extent thankful.
yeah,
Maybe not thankful for all of the bullying and
no,
all of
I'm
the.
grateful,
Okay,
100%
yeah,
grateful.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But you don't notice those things in the moment.
yeah,
Like anytime you're going through adversity, you you look at it and you're like, this is terrible. Like, especially a man of faith, you're probably thinking like, why would God put me through this? And then I'm sure you look back 10 years and you think, oh, okay, that's why God put me through this. Like he was refining me, he was preparing me for um, like what's to come.
yeah,
And it wasn't out of hate, it
yeah,
was out of love.
yeah.
Hard to see it in the moment though. Definitely hard to see it in the moment. So, and like, what did you do? Like, well, how, if you don't mind me asking, how heavy did you get?
The close to, I think, 260 at
260.
like the age of 14 or
Okay.
15. So yeah.
And then did you just start working out or
Yeah,
eat?
so I didn't really lift weights too much because I was already big. I was focused a lot on like running, cardio,
Cool.
obviously a little bit of starvation. So I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing what I did because I did it very drastically, but
Yeah.
just a lot of running, biking, just anything that I can, and then eating a lot less. So yeah.
Oh, cool, man. And obviously, like as you've gotten older, I'm sure your like workout regimen and your diet and stuff has probably leveled out and now you're not starving yourself or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So you graduate high school. What did life look like?
So when I graduated high school, I used to work at Culver's and Bojo's Pizza. I think it's only to Colorado Bojo's Pizza, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I used to work there, and then I was, like I said, I used to be really into sports. So I went to buy a bike from somebody that worked at an aircraft cleaning company, and they offered me a job. I thought, what's better, flipping burgers or cleaning an airplane, and so
I'd pick airplanes.
yeah, so I got a job over there and just worked for them for 2 years. I had fun. It was a good opportunity because I didn't have anything else going for me. I wasn't smart. I didn't come from a wealthy family, so I couldn't go to college.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, that was the best that I could have then. Then, hopefully, that kind of answers your question.
yeah. And then did you work for them for multiple years or?
Yeah, so I worked from them for 2019 to 2021, I want to say. Yeah, 2019 to 2021. So I worked there for 2 years, and then I kind of started my own business. I don't know if you want me to hop into that right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay. So towards the end of working for them, I kind of got into flying. So I decided to go to a flight school. And that's very expensive. Your full paycheck pretty much covers two flights, and then maybe you have like another $100 left over for gas to get back and forth from work. So I asked my boss for a raise, and he said no. And I told him I'd start cleaning airplanes on the side a little bit just to make extra income, and he didn't like that idea
Mm.
because he saw that I was like serious about it. I need more money, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna do something. And he
And you're probably pretty good at cleaning airplanes at this point too. So he's like, this kid's really good at cleaning airplanes.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay.
just to put it in perspective, I pretty much did 95% of the work for that full entire company,
Wow.
and my old manager and I did the math, and I think I was probably making like $800,000 a year just solely me, and I
Wow.
was making $45,000 a year.
Yeah.
So
And how much of a raise did you want? Was it?
I feel like literally $2.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I don't want that much. Just like a little bit extra to get by. It's expensive to live out here, man. Like I don't understand how like $45,000 a year is not a lot of money, especially in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's not a livable wage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But so he didn't like that idea, and so he decided to fire me. That when I told him I'm gonna clean some stuff on the side, so he fired me, and that's kind of when I decided to start taking my business very seriously and like go full throttle. Trying to find clients and expand my business. I kind of put the flying airplanes on pause because I don't really have a desire to be a pilot anymore, and I just really wanted to focus on business because again, as a young kid, I had that be the best that you can mindset. So no matter what area of life that is, whether that's spiritually, physically, or, financially, I always want to be like the top 1%. So,
Mm.
I kind of put the flying on pause and decided to pursue my business fully. And for the first 2 years, it was slow because I signed a contract when I was 18 or 19, which is a non-compete. And so he was, had lawyers after me. He was, yeah, saying a whole lot of stuff to the companies in the area. So I had a very difficult time finding clients in the first 2 years, but I still kind of pushed through that through the slow times. You said you watched my video, so I used to flip bikes. I had a reselling business. That's kind of my main focus from 2021 to 2023. And God did bless that I was still able to make a lot more money, flipping bikes than I even did working for him. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And so tell me about that. So you'd find bikes on,
Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp.
and you'd find like a broken bike or a beat up bike, you'd fix it and then you'd resell the bike?
Yeah, so not even that. 90% of the reason why people can't sell stuff on Facebook is because the pictures aren't great and the description isn't great. So they would be asking $250 for a bike that's definitely worth that amount, but it's been for sale for, 5, 6 months and they can't sell it because the pictures are just bad. So I would offer them, $70, $80. They would accept it. I'd go home, clean it. It's not broken or anything. I just clean it, take better pictures, and then list it for 350 and sell the next day.
Did you get anybody ever? Because I see stuff like that. I always wonder, like, does anybody ever hop on Facebook Marketplace and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
like you scalped my bike
Yeah,
or
I had a couple of those people. There was more instances though where I bought stolen bikes that I was not aware that were stolen, and so the original owners of that bike that had the bike stolen from them came to my house and were very upset because they thought I'm the one that stole it, but obviously I have proof of purchase. So
yeah,
I just ended up giving those bikes back at no
that's nice,
cost. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like sometimes you run into instances like that where you kind of just do the right thing. Are you justified to have to give it back to them? Probably not. But what's, $350 or
Yeah. Well, for
whatever in
me,
the
it was
grand scheme of things?
$80. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
80
What's 80
bucks.
bucks in the grand scheme of things?
And, it's kind of crazy. Over those 2 years, I probably sold maybe 300 to 350 bikes, like a lot of bikes. Yeah. So I was on that grind.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
man. And you purchased all of them from like Facebook
Yep.
Marketplace, Craigslist, and wow.
Yeah.
After a while, did anybody like start sending you bikes? Like, did people see what you were doing and start sending you bikes, or are you like hunting down these deals?
Yeah, so it was a lot of hunting down. I had a couple of connections with, let's say, homeless people, maybe. Uh, so they like if they ever came across a bike that they want to sell me, I understand that it's probably stolen, but the owner probably hasn't seen it in a very long time. So I
Yeah.
would still just offer them money for it. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, if the owner ever came back for his bike, I would just give it back for free. So
Yeah.
it was beneficial to the owner if he came across the listing, but also beneficial to me
Yeah.
because I had the potential to quadruple my money. So
For sure. A client's a client, man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I heard you mention something earlier where you said you're trying to be the best physically, spiritually, and financially. I'm assuming mentally as well.
Yeah.
I've always thought as like a business owner, it all kind of goes together.
Mm.
Like if you're struggling in one area, you're probably going to struggle in the others.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that's been the same for you?
Yeah, so to put it all in perspective, let's put everything. I'll just mention one thing from every single one of those sectors. So if you're off mentally, you're obviously not going to be able to do things in your business that need to be accomplished to the best of its ability. Or if you're off physically, let's say, you didn't eat the proper food and now you're just sluggish and tired again, that's going to reflect in your mental and then in how you perform in your business. Or if you're off spiritually, you have something in your mind that's not right with God, or you just, what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you're also a Christian. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's just like a thing in your mind where it's kind of holding you back from being your, best that you can. So all those things connect together to make you the best person. So you always have to make sure you're on top of, everything, whether that's spiritually, mentally, physically, and, everything. It just kind of all correlates into being a successful person.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. Yeah, I've noticed in my life, like when I'm starving one, I kind of starve the others. And if I'm feeding all of them, then I'm thriving. I'm not only doing well in my business, but I'm also happy. I know a lot of people that are successful but not happy. And I feel like that comes from not feeding all of those things. Because you can still achieve success and not be healthy mentally or physically. But I feel like there's a lot less of a likelihood you'll be happy at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2021 to 2023, you started AlphaJet,
Yeah.
but things weren't really like going well at that time. So you were focused more on the bikes and still obviously thriving.
Yeah.
Why, like, what was going on from 21 to 2023 that ultimately affected AlphaJet not kicking off to where it is today?
So I definitely have to say it's my boss, and just like whenever I did the client outreach to companies here in Denver, they would just be either rude or not respond simply because of that. He had lawyers send out a bunch of legal notices to a lot of the companies. He talked to them himself, like bad mouthing me, saying trying to steal a bit of his business or whatever. But I would say that's probably the big reason why it didn't kick off. But that also, through that hard time, God was able to teach me, patience, perseverance, and build like a really good character in me, I would say.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for, the difficult times.
Was there a time in that 2 year time span because it's stressful, obviously, like anytime somebody threatens legality, especially at a young age when you haven't experienced that, like I'm sure it's probably pretty scary,
Yeah.
truthfully.
Yeah.
Especially somebody that maybe has the means to actually come after you, even if it's not going to amount to anything. It's still stressful.
Yeah.
Was there any time in that 2 year time span where you almost thought about giving up?
Not necessarily. I know that's not what a lot of people would say,
Yeah.
but I had a goal in mind and I just believed, I had faith that God is going to work everything out. So, like, I didn't feel like quitting, but it was difficult sometimes to get through, certain circumstances because obviously you're with selling bikes, you're just relying on, the market for to provide you a deal. So
Yeah.
it's not always the best, but I'm still grateful for that time.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah. I'm sure you learned a lot in that time span too. That ultimately helped you grow into who you are today.
Yeah.
So what clicked in 2023? Like what changed?
Yeah. So through those 2 years that I was slow and it was difficult, I learned how to reach clients that a lot of these big companies don't really service. So, I was kind of able to build like a client list of people that own smaller aircraft or,
Mm.
do it as a hobby for fun. And I got the opportunity to do an airplane called a DC-3, which is, like an old collector airplane, like I mentioned before, where they pay really high money. But I did that airplane for like dirt cheap. Like normally I would charge like 10 times or 20 times more. And
Wow.
yeah, I did it for like $6,000. And so the guy was super, super happy and he passed my information along to a restoration museum out in Oregon that is very well known to service like these type of airplanes all over the world. They
Wow.
service in Texas, they service overseas, they have clients in New Zealand, just everywhere. So that's kind of how my business, really grew quickly is because they're such high paying jobs. I was able to kind of not fight for every penny and, make a lot of money and focus more on scaling versus fighting, for $100, $200 every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. And just so I understand, like, is this essential to the airplane? Like, is this something these guys have to do yearly, or is it just to try to keep it in tip-top shape?
Yeah, so that answer kind of varies on exactly what you're looking at. So these older restoration projects, they're not necessarily needed. The owners just do it because they could afford it and they want it looking the best. But for private jets, for example, like there's certain services that have to be performed
Yeah.
from like a maintenance perspective. So like the metal, it builds up corrosion when you fly near the ocean and everything else. So that obviously has to be taken care of by a company like mine and, just general, upkeep with cleaning, keeping the aircraft worthy. So there's certain things that have to be done, but there's also certain things that are just people do because they could afford it and they want it to look the best. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about working with high-end clientele is, they have a lot of money, not a lot of time,
Yeah.
where if, maybe you just have a small aircraft, less, financial capability, you're probably just going to try to detail that plane yourself or
Yeah.
clean that plane yourself. But this higher end clientele has the funds, they just don't have the time and they want it to be done really well. So they work with a specialist like
Mm.
you. Um, and then do you travel out to like Oregon and things like that, or do people fly in to you? How
Yeah.
does that typically work?
So with these really big restorative projects, we do travel. So I've been to Oregon, California, Catalina Island, which is also a part of California. But we also do have a place where people could fly in, for their smaller stuff and, get their plane clean here in Denver. So
That's
yeah.
cool, man. So you guys have your own shop
Yep.
that you set up
Hmm.
at an airport
Yep.
nearby?
Yeah. Yep. In Boulder.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Um, and do you have a team now? Like, are you running this?
Yeah, we do have a team
Okay.
because we're obviously trying to expand. We
Yeah.
just opened up locations in Arizona and Australia. So that obviously also requires a team, obviously a lot of meetings, things that I can't handle. We just had the location in Arizona do their first project about 5 days ago. It's very nerve-wracking to me because I
Yeah.
can't control the situation. I've never experienced, just letting go and letting somebody go do their own thing.
Yeah.
Because even when I have people working with me, I'm still there and I can kind of control the situation a little bit, but it was a whole new experience, just super nerve-wracking waiting for a phone call.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like that's the hardest part
Yeah.
with scaling a business is being able to get to a point where you just have to put faith in others.
Mhm.
Um, that was something I really struggled with. Like I did not want to let go of certain tasks, and truthfully, I still don't like to let go of certain tasks. I do it because I have to,
Yeah.
but it's not easy to do. Like you built this business from the ground up. It's kind of like your baby,
Mhm.
you know, letting someone else, like putting the reputation of the company in the hands of somebody else is hard.
Yep.
Um, and I think that's why training and just creating a good culture is super important. Like I try to create that with my employees. Like instill this love for the company in them so that I know they're going to take good care of the business. Like my wife and I are going out of town for a week on Friday, actually. And yeah, and I'm going to try to like almost entirely disconnect from
Yep.
work and just have them run the company. And that's scary to me, but I feel like I've done a good enough job with creating like a good culture to where they're going to want to take good care of the business while I'm gone. So it's important to be able to do that. How do you do that for yourself? Like, are you training these people to clean these airplanes to your standards? Do you have a course?
Yeah, so we don't have like a training program that is like, I don't know how the best way to answer this would be. So we train them. We try to train everybody in person. We just recently started training people. And the guy in Arizona, he did not get in person training yet, but I have met up with him because I was in Arizona for about 3 weeks, and I kind of went over all the details with him. We sat down. I tried showing him the standards, explained to him all the process and everything. So that's kind of why it was so nerve wracking, is because he's never been around an airplane before. And it was just, even though I did everything that I can with showing him my standard, teaching him everything about aviation that he would
Mhm.
need to know, that's kind of super difficult to just trust somebody when
Yeah.
they've never been around an airplane. You never know what could happen. So
Yeah.
we do our best with training people and stuff like that, but it's just very difficult sometimes to know the outcome, just because your standard is set so high and your reputation is, everything. So if they don't fully, give the reputation that your company stands for, then that's kind of when your business starts going downhill.
For sure. Well, and I feel like as an entrepreneur too, you almost have this like different level of work
Yeah.
ethic. And I can tell with you too, like just from your upbringing and, losing all the weight and just creating discipline, like you probably have a crazy level of work ethic.
Yeah.
And that's the standard you want to set as a business owner. But it's hard
Yeah.
because not everybody has that level of work ethic that you have.
Yeah.
And that's something that's hard to instill in people. Like you can instill the quality. Um, it's not always easy to instill the work
Yeah.
ethic. You just have to find like very driven people. What do you look for in somebody that you want to bring on the team?
So we look for drive, obviously, and that hunger, because you can't really teach hunger. You have to have it. You could either be born with it, or it could happen to you at some point in your life where you just realize that if you don't do it for yourself, nobody's going to do it for you. So we look for the people that are, driven, that actually want to, do something with their life, and they're looking for some kind of opportunity, but they just don't know what to do quite yet. So we just look for people that are motivated, driven, have that hunger, and that's the type of people that we like to work with.
Just so I understand like the space, what does an average airplane you guys work on like typically cost? Like what does it cost a customer to come to you guys and say, "Hey, I want you to um, refine this airplane." Um,
So
and I
it's
know it's probably a
yeah,
wide
yeah,
range,
yeah,
but just like an average or a ballpark, or you could tell me like what a small airplane would be, and then maybe like more of like a luxury
yeah.
airplane would look like.
So the highest paying one that we did, which took about a month to do, was this year, or I'm sorry, last year now at this
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
which we got $95,000 for a
Wow.
month of work. And then obviously when I first started out, we were charging for these really small airplanes just to clean them. It would take 2, 3 hours. We would be at about the $240 price point. So it's like such a big variety. It's very hard to put a price on things. So
Yeah.
it could be anywhere from $200 to almost $100,000, depending on what airplane or service they're looking to get
Wow.
completed. Yeah.
And that 95,000 one that you were saying, that's like a old, um, kind of like historic
Yeah.
airplane.
Yeah. So that was actually the old Air Force One.
Okay.
So what Air Force One is now, like the 737 or whatever he
Yeah.
has, 747. I don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
that's pretty much the old model of that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's so cool. And I know like you got a lot of customers from referral.
Mhm.
So you did a really good job on that first one, probably underbid it, but you got your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Um, how have you gotten clients since then? Like, has it all been word of mouth? Does the airplane industry does everybody talk,
Yeah.
or do you have to go out and find clients now?
So I haven't really been looking for clients in the last maybe year and a half, just simply because I've been so busy with what I have going on right now, simply from that word of mouth. But in the beginning, I was definitely, looking for all those clients and, doing everything that I can to get every single client. So,
Would you say that like your philosophy is to just do a really, really good job and then people talk and then you get business through that?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Try the best you can at everything that you do, and good things will happen.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. What would you say like one habit you have that's really changed your life or um, just your day to
Yeah,
day?
I think starting out the morning the way you're supposed to. So obviously, if you go out the night before, to a club or whatever, and you stay there till 3 in the morning, you come home, drunk, you wake up hungover at 7. You're not gonna have, that head start to the day. So the way you start your morning. So the way I start it is, I get up, I read the Bible, I pray, and then I do a workout. So starting the morning out with a routine that can help you, lock in and focus for the rest of the day, I think is a very big key in becoming successful.
Yeah. What time do you wake up?
It just varies, but my sweet spot's like around 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. I noticed that for me. I wake up really early. At like 4:45 is the sweet spot for me.
Okay.
And the only reason I do 4:45 is just because I call it like I like to wake up before my world wakes up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I feel like life can get so hectic, especially when you're running a business. Like you have people calling you and we've got projects going on, like starting at like 7 a.m. So, but I'll do a similar thing. You know, I wake up, I read my Bible. I'll try to get to the gym at least 5 days a week. Um, but uh, but like waking up before your world wakes up has been huge for me.
Okay.
But yeah, I think your morning routine is huge.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that if my morning routine's off, my day tends to be off. But if my morning routine is on, my day ends up being much better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Um, Talk to me a little bit about your faith. Like how has that ultimately shifted how you run a business? Is that something you've always, grew up believing in, or um, is it something that you kind of developed later on in
Yeah.
life?
So I grew up believing in it, but probably around the age of 16, I was just, in high school, everybody is in high school.
Yeah.
So, I became kind of like a bad kid. I did things definitely that I shouldn't, tried things that I shouldn't have tried. But, around the time when my old boss was trying to sue me, like reality really set in, like I can't do this by myself. So that's kind of where I had to, really come back to God. And that's why I'm so grateful for that difficult 2 years, because it really grew me closer to him,
Mm,
taught me, faith, trust, again, patience, all the good characters that successful men have. And, that's why whenever people ask me for advice, that's like the number one thing is I can tell them is just trust God, because again, with these really old planes that I do, like the very first time I did when I was 23, and to put it into perspective, that's like for something that you might understand, like if somebody was to go work on the White House, like they would be looking for a company with a long, lasting history, maybe open for 30, 40 years with many, many reviews.
hmm
And I simply didn't have that. That's kind of the comparison between these two with how rare of a project this is. So a
mm.
lot of people would look at it and say, why are you trusting a 23-year-old to complete such a crazy project? And, that's where I know where it's all God's hand in that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. It's crazy how that all played out and it all kind of points back to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always think like the best business book I can read is always the Bible.
Yeah.
Like I learn a lot. I don't know if you do you follow Myron Goldman at all or
I
watch any of his
don't
stuff?
know.
Okay. You should check him out.
Okay.
He's a cool business coach, but he has this philosophy he talks about with business owners, and I've really like it's really changed the way I do business. Um, but it comes from a scripture in Genesis where essentially it's God giving this layout for what a successful person could have or what a successful person's life should look like.
Mhm.
And the layout is be do have, and the scripture is be fruitful, increase in number, um, uh geez, I can't even, and it ends with have dominion over the world.
Yep.
But um but how I've kind of translated that into my life is a lot of people think you like once you have a certain amount of money or you have a certain amount of clients or whatever it is, then you'll become the person. Um, but the way it should be is you become the person, um, then you do the thing, and then you have the result.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have that turned around. Like they think, oh, when I have it, then I'll do it, or I'll do it and then I'll become the person and then I'll have it.
Yep.
And that's just not how it really works. So I think you can learn a lot of stuff from the Bible. Do you have an area like that you really study consistently?
As far as
In the Bible, like
I like Psalms a lot.
Psalms? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Um, and like how would you say like that's shifted the way you do business? Is there a certain, I don't know, what makes you different when it comes to business because of the scripture?
I think just faith based, like everything that I do is always, I'm sure every business owner tries doing everything to the best of their ability, but for me, it's not necessarily the effort that I put in, is just the faith that I have to see growth. Because obviously, if you're working at something for 2 years and you're not seeing results, you have to have faith. Like,
Yeah,
you don't just keep going if you don't see results. Because a lot of people say if you don't see any type of results in a business in about 6 months, you just
yeah,
wrap it up and move on to the next thing. But going for 2 years without seeing many results, that took a lot of hard, faith and perseverance. So,
for sure.
yeah.
Do you feel like your faith has ever been tested with success?
Okay.
Like not just adversity?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like, you know, you get the nice car or whatever. Like I've noticed for me, sometimes like certain things can get to my head. I'm human, you know. Do you feel like your faith has ever been tested with success as well?
Not necessarily in a prideful way, but obviously with new things like scaling, reinvesting a lot of money into something, that yes, but like as far as pride goes, I was bullied a lot as a kid and grew up with nothing. So to me, I'm like I see what I have more as just gratitude than hey, look, I
Hmm.
achieved this. To me, it's more, thank you God for giving me all these amazing things and blessing me versus telling people, look at what I achieved, I bought this, that, and that, because that's not the type of person that I am. So for me,
Yeah.
it's just more faith being tested and still growing my business.
Yeah. And what does that look like for you? Like when you say faith being tested with still growing your business, like having faith that it's all going to work out or like,
Just not knowing that what you're doing is going to work out, because
mm,
obviously, if I just stay in Colorado, I'd be doing great. But again, like I said, my goal is to expand literally everywhere, not just all 50 states in the U.S., but overseas,
yeah.
China, Europe, just everywhere. So
Yeah. Talk to me about that. Like what does scaling look like for you? Like are you, I don't know, how do you scale
yeah.
a business like that?
Yeah. So, well, I started posting on social media maybe about 5 months ago, just as motivation and, just kind of tell people my story. And, I had a lot of people reach out, asking me what I do. They're interested because obviously I show some of the things that I bought through this business with God's help. And, they were interested in what I do. When I started telling people what I do, they started asking, what is that? So, if we come across somebody, let's say in Florida, for example,
Mm.
that is interested in what I do, they have that drive and that hunger that I talked about before. And we do, make sure that, they have a certain level of faith in themselves, a little bit in God, just to make sure that they're an upstanding human, somebody that we could work with and we could trust. And if we find that type of person, then we could, discuss, growing with them, potentially expanding into that state and working with them and letting them handle, my business in that state essentially. So,
So to some extent, like a franchising model.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to scale a business like yours is, um, find people that want to do it. I mean, how many people does it take to detail an airplane typically?
Yeah. So when I first started, for the first, several years, I was doing everything by myself. So if you're just doing regular standard detailing, like cleaning the airplane, you could do that all by yourself. But with these, certain big projects that I work on now, it's good to have a team, but these owners look for the highest quality of work, and
Mm,
that's what they call me. So I like to focus on that solely by myself and not have a team,
okay.
although it's recommended. So it really just depends on, what your level of strength is physically. If you're able to complete that type of project all by yourself, you could do it. And if not, then, you would have a team. So
Yeah. Yeah. Do does that scare you at all? Like scaling?
yeah,
Yeah.
just, like I mentioned, with that guy in Arizona, we just opened up over there, and it was very, very difficult. Even though it was not a big project, a big airplane, it was something small and simple. It's just very, very scary because it's your business name that's under reputation right there. So he does a bad job if he breaks something, if he doesn't complete it in the standard that I taught him, then it's kind of the end to that franchise right there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It all falls back on you.
yeah,
That's cool, man. And have you gotten these people from like the person in Arizona? Was that somebody that found you on social media and
yeah,
you got connected with them
yeah,
through
yeah.
that? Because I'm sure like it's hard to get, like you said, the barrier to entry is kind of hard. It's hard to get into the space if you're not already in the space. So what you're providing is you're providing like an opportunity for them to get into the space. You're providing training, and then there's obviously a fee, I'm guessing, and then you're taking a percentage of
Yeah.
profits.
Yeah, so we don't charge for franchising out of state. They would just be paying us based on revenue, and the
Okay.
benefit of that would be, instead of starting a brand new aircraft detailing company, they already have a company name that's been established, been open for the last 4 years and worked on some of the most rare and high-end aircraft out there. So,
Yeah,
our business is already very well established, and, advertising with that obviously comes a lot easier since you have an established and trusted business. So that's kind of the big benefit of working with us in franchising.
for sure. And are you being really strategic with like where these locations are popping up? Or is it kind of just like, hey, if I find the right person, that's the right fit that I know can run this location? It doesn't matter if it's in Seattle or if it's in Miami.
Yeah. So there's airplanes everywhere. So we just
Yeah.
look for the right type of person because obviously there's wealthy people everywhere.
Yeah.
They fly wherever, literally everywhere. So
Yeah.
there's airplanes to be worked on everywhere. We just try and look for the right type of person.
That's cool. And it's cool too that you already have clientele in different states. So I'm sure your clientele is probably looking forward to, potentially having a home base a little bit closer at some point in time. How does it work? You said people can fly in and actually get detailed from?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we haven't been doing a lot of that lately simply because it doesn't pay the best. That's something
Okay.
that I focused on around 2023 and
Okay.
kind of or 2024 also, I guess. So we have a place in Boulder where people could fly into, and then we have, obviously the two nice cars. We would let the clients, go get lunch in one of those cars while we
Cool.
clean their airplane. It would take about 2 hours. They would go have lunch. They would come back. Their airplane's clean, and they take back off. So
That's cool.
yeah,
That's a cool business model. So they would take like, because you have a McLaren, right?
yeah.
So did you buy that for business originally, or was that more of like a fun purchase?
That was more of a fun purchase, the Porsche and McLaren that I bought last year, but back then I still had decent cars. I had a Porsche Macan
Okay.
and a Porsche Cayman, I think. Yeah.
Big Porsche guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's the two cars we used back then, but we stopped doing that because the cars we have now are much higher in value, and
Yeah.
it's not worth that risk to us for, $400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I can see how the ROI on that probably isn't the craziest. So I guess the goal for AlphaJet now is just expansion.
Yeah.
And what does that look like for you? Because you've been cleaning airplanes, to some extent, like you've been an owner operator.
Yeah.
Sounds like. Are you stepping away from that this year and just focusing on the scaling? Or are you going to keep cleaning airplanes?
So as far as Denver goes, I'm still gonna be, I have people here that help me with work now.
Yeah.
We've trained a couple of people to work with us. So they kind of help me out. So projects get completed a lot quicker, and I'm more free to step away, during a job to, talk to clients or people out of state that I'm franchising with. But I'm trying to step away. Um, a lot from, the hands-on stuff. I'll still obviously do these super high-end, jobs out of state that pay a lot of money because they look for a certain type of quality, and only I can provide that. Even if I train somebody, they're not gonna
Yeah.
they're not gonna be able to do that
Yeah.
for a very long time, because I've been doing this since 2019, so I have a lot of experience. So I would still do those, but yeah, my goal is to kind of step away and focus on franchising right now.
That's cool. What would you say the coolest airplane you've ever worked on was?
Probably the one we
The
just
one.
did. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Had you done much like a lot of those old vintage planes before starting your company? Like, did you do any of that
No,
with?
like,
Okay.
that's what I mean, it's super rare, like, that's
Yeah.
literally compared to, like, working on the White House, like, no, like,
Wow.
these type of jobs are, like, so, so rare, like, it's crazy.
Does it still baffle you sometimes that like that opportunity presented itself
Yeah,
without, like you guys have a reputation now, but it's still kind of growing,
yeah,
you're not that established. To be able to be presented with an opportunity like that, I'm sure is kind of mind-boggling
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And would you say that's been like a huge almost helped you grow in your faith?
Yep, like,
Like,
'cause
wow.
yeah, like, for 2 years, like I said, I was praying a lot, I was seeking God, and then, I was asking, "When is it gonna happen?" And, your faith gets really stretched, so to finally get an answer, and such a big one at that, is just kinda crazy. So it really strains your faith, and kinda helps you see that no matter what you're gonna go through in life, just pray, have faith, and things are gonna work out.
Yeah. How does somebody overcome that faith strain? Like when I don't know, maybe the faith strain lasts a lot longer than you would want it to because it happens.
Yep.
How would you say somebody overcomes that faith strain?
Just I don't really know how to answer that correctly, but
Yeah.
that's really what faith is just believing that what
Yeah.
you don't see is going to happen. That's pretty much what faith really is all about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that kind of answers the
No, it
question.
does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, ultimately faith is, believing in something you can't see.
Yep.
And you can have faith in anything. I feel like to not believe in God, you have to have a lot of faith.
Yeah.
Um, What I kind of know like the direction you want to take the company, obviously. You have some pretty high goals to be in all 50 states and then, eventually like an international company. It sounds like you want AlphaJet to be like the, McDonald's
Yeah.
of airplane cleaning, which is an awesome goal, man. Does anybody even have like a huge franchise like that?
So there is a couple of companies that just have, several locations, but I'm not aware of anybody that's in all 50 states and, overseas everywhere, because that's my goal. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you would think there would be somebody, but
Yeah.
you could definitely be the first. I can see it, man. Um, what's the why behind all of it? Like, why do you work so hard? Because I feel like when you achieve a certain amount of success, it's kind of easy to like kick back a little bit. Like you're doing well.
Mhm.
You're doing really well for you said 25 years old. Um, what's the why?
So it started obviously just, because I was, a kid that grew up with not a lot, a lot of brothers. So my parents couldn't afford to get us a lot of nice things, not being able to have the things that I want as a kid. So that's kind of where it started at, just wanting to buy certain things that I couldn't have as a kid. But, after achieving that, you have to find a bigger why. There has to be a bigger reason. So, my parents are missionaries. They don't really work because I have three brothers that are special needs. So
Mm.
they require a lot of attention. And my dad travels, to different countries to preach. And so, I like to support their ministry. I want to support my parents, to be able to help my brothers out, and then also be able to take care of them when my parents are too old to do so. So that's kind of the why right now.
Yeah, to just be able to help them out
Yeah.
more.
Just people in need in general. I love helping people out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, some of the most fulfilling moments, or probably the most fulfilling moments I've had in my life have not been from like things I've accomplished or money I've made or
Yeah.
things I've achieved. It's always been like what I've been able to do for other
Yeah.
people. Um, so that's awesome, man. When you when you think back on like I guess your whole story, like I don't do you feel like your drive came from somewhere? Like, did that mostly come from your faith, or was it a chip on your shoulder? Because you were bullied growing up. Like,
I
I guess where did that drive
Yeah.
come from?
So I think the drive came from, again, growing up in not a very wealthy family, or not even very wealthy, just not with really no money at all.
Yeah,
But my faith was more developed through the difficulties of business versus that faith being the, driving factor to pursue business, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
it kind of got developed, just as a kid, pretty much.
And first and foremost, man, you're an awesome guy. I feel like a lot of people can learn from you. I think one, you have a really unique business model. You guys are clearly really, really good at what you guys do, cleaning the airplanes and stuff that you guys do. Um, and I know you're going to achieve a lot of these goals that you've set out to. Um, I always like to end with a question similar to this, though. If you could look back, I don't know, at 18-year-old Philip and give yourself one piece of advice, um, that now at 25 years old, what's that one piece of advice you'd give yourself?
Just trust God, always, and, just do something with your life, no matter what it is. Like, to be successful, you could literally be successful in any business model, because as long as it's legal, God is going to bless you if He sees that you have that entrepreneurial spirit. If maybe you start a roofing company and that doesn't work out, He'll lead you down the right path for,
Mm.
the business that He has for you. So, if you just trust God and start doing something, then you'll become successful.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, awesome, Philip. Well, I appreciate having you on the podcast, man. It's been really cool to learn from you, like I said, and learn about your industry. And yeah, man, I look forward to continuing to see all the success.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me on.
Yeah.